So I'm with Shaun. We're at Liberty Bell in Philadelphia. The debate is in a couple hours. So I was just talking to one gentleman from Philly area. He's not in love with Trump, but he's going to vote for Trump because of Kamala Harris's record as Attorney General of California. You were kind of nodding along. So tell me, what's the most important thing for you in this election?
So for me, the most important thing is foreign policy. I used to be a Democrat back in the Bush years, and I was very anti-war. And that's not changed. I became a Republican because of Ron Paul 12 years ago. So I didn't vote for Mitt Romney. I'm just putting it out there. But I did vote for Trump twice. And
Ron Paul was kind of a thorn in the Republican Party's side.
And that's why I like him. But I'm against all these wars, and that's my biggest thing. Donald Trump is against a lot of these, like Ukraine. I believe we should talk to Putin. We should talk to him. We should try to negotiate something that's better than starting World War III. You understand what I'm saying?
I just want to push back on that respectfully, because I hear all this that Donald Trump is anti-war, and it's the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. Let me just list it. One second. Donald Trump armed Ukraine when he was president. Not a lot of people remember that. Donald Trump took out Soleimani in Iran, which frankly could have started a war. Yeah, that was a big general. He bombed Syria twice. He said he was going to get out of Afghanistan. He did not. Now, people could criticize that Biden got out and it was chaotic, which getting out of war is chaotic. Yeah. But Biden got out. Okay, so how is Trump so anti-war? By the way, I mean, Trump has basically totally supported what Israel is doing in Gaza.
And that's what I was going to go. I was going to, go back and say he's not really anti-war. He wants less war. I don't agree with what we're doing in Israel or what we're supporting. I'm really not taking any sides on that one, but I don't agree that we should continue to support arming any countries. I don't believe in any foreign aid to anybody. Military, humanitarian, I don't, because we have to deal with the issues here in this country.
So you basically think Trump is like, they're both kind of bad, but Trump is less bad on war.
Foreign policy, he's less. He's more, to me, than Kamala Harris. When I see people like Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, Bill Kristol, on all these neocons supporting her and supporting Biden the last and Hillary Clinton the last 8 years, I don't want to support that. We have all these Bush Cheney people supporting the Democratic Party, and I'm like, why don't people ever say anything about it? Dick Cheney's
I take it you just saw Dick endorse Kamala?
Yes, and I couldn't stand him and his daughter. I've never, like I said, I'm a Republican now. I've never, even when I was a Democrat, I never liked them. I still don't like the Cheney family. I still don't like George Bush. They still should be prosecuted for the war crimes they committed in Iraq.
I agree with you, but if you're a Republican, forget Kamala, forget Trump. Yeah. I mean, the Republican Party loves war, too. Well, so why are you a Republican if your main issue is, they've been trying to go, Lindsey Graham and these people have been trying to go war with Iran and China. Most of the Republicans are down with war. Most of the Republicans want the military budget to be higher than it already is. So I don't care if you're a Democrat or not. I'm just curious about why being a Republican.
Because I see where the Democratic Party is going the last 12 years, and the party has been more pro-war. If it wasn't for Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, Barack Obama would have went into Syria, Iraq style. Those two gentlemen, and I believe Bernie Sanders and some far left people, stopped that war in Syria that Barack Obama wanted. So for me, the Democratic Party is nothing but a war party. I see what they're doing now. We're supporting this war in Ukraine. A war in Ukraine for what? That's not our business. I remember back when we went to Iraq, we said, why are we in there? Where are our interests coming out of this? The same thing in Ukraine. What are our interests coming out of this? There's nothing that we have there. Look, I'm not saying Putin was right. I'm not supporting Putin. But I don't believe that we should be the policeman in the war. Something that, again, I'm an old school liberal. We should not be the policeman in the war. And I don't care if you're a Democrat doing it or a Republican doing it. If you're doing it, I'm not supporting you.
Okay, but I agree with you. To me, Kamala Harris, she's already said, I'm going to continue the policy on Israel, Russia, Ukraine. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. I'm just curious with Trump. He's not really anti-war.
He's not anti-war.
He's for all 1,000 military bases around the world. Mm-hmm. There's been reports that the generals had to pull him back. He wanted to bomb the cartel in Mexico. Mm-hmm. He wanted to do some kind of crazy things. Yeah. He was erratic at times and was talking about dropping nukes. So I'm just curious why, to you, Trump, forget anti-war, is less. You think it's more likely he won't?
Because I see what it is, and I hear what you're saying as far as some of the skirmishes we had, but he was not for, how do I say it? He wasn't for this full out, we got to defend Ukraine no matter what. Right. He's openly saying, hey, Now, I know, Trump says a lot of stuff, but he said, hey, day one, he's going to try to stop the war in Ukraine. It's not going to happen, but at least he's willing to, say, hey, we need to sit down and stop this.
Well, I say a lot of things when I'm trying to sweet talk my wife. It doesn't mean I mean it. You think he means it?
Both of them, I do think he means it. I don't think he wants to continue this war. Okay. I don't. Now, yeah, you're right. He did fund it. But again, I'm not somebody that's like, oh, Trump does no wrong. Right. I remember that. I was in Korea when he bombed Soleimani. I was against that. I said, that's the worst thing you could have done.
But, I think what you're saying, it's an interesting point because so many people wear their, like, blue hat or red hat, but there's a whole generation of younger people, I don't know how old you are, but you seem younger, that they don't have like an allegiance to the Democrats or the Republicans. They're just tired of perpetual war.
That's what
they're tired of sending money to 25 different countries and dropping bomb on 9 at the same time. Right. But meanwhile, people here are working 2 jobs. People here are, going bankrupt for medical debt, other things. And I kind of hear from you, you're exhausted from all that.
I am. Regardless, like I said, I don't care who's doing it. If you're going to keep pushing this war machine that we have, I'm against it. Now I know Donald Trump has done his fair share of it. But I see who's lining up behind the Democratic Party the last 12 years. You have the independently wealthy. You have Wall Street. You have the banks. You have these corporations. They're all giving money to this one side, disproportionately than the other side. And that's a problem for me. That's a big problem for me, and I can't support that. Yeah, I see.
There's your guy.
There's Don right there. I can't support that. I also like the fact that Trump is a thorn in the side of the establishment. He's pissing them off. And, go ahead.
I was going to also ask you, because people will be watching this, be like, I agree with everything this guy's saying, but why don't you consider a third-party choice?
I did.
That most of them are anti-war?
I did. I was RFK. I supported RFK. I was out here with my 2 sons when he declared his independence back last October.
RFK is totally down with Israel, what they're doing.
I know. I mean, like I said, I'm not looking for purity. I'm not a purist. I'm looking for somebody who's close to me, that Ron Paul libertarianism when it comes to foreign policy as possible. And right now, out of the 2 choices that we have, it's more Donald Trump than Kamala Harris.
And last question, you hear all these white folks on TV, the pundits, they're talking about, black men in Detroit and black men in Philly, and Kamala's not doing as well among black voters, and what does she have to do among black voters? And it just always strikes me that you have very few actually black people on TV talking about it. It's always like wealthy white people talking about the black voter. Not that you could speak for all African Americans, but black people don't just vote all the same. People have different issues. For you, for this community, this and that, I'm seeing a shift where it's not all black voters for the Democratic Party. I'm seeing, black men in Detroit I'm talking to either aren't voting Democrat or are going to Trump for whatever their reason. For you, has the Democratic Party taken the black vote for granted?
It has. I was a loyal Democrat when I'm 30. I'm about to be 36. I was a loyal Democrat growing up. I remember I was in high school. I got to register to vote. Democrat down the ticket. But then I see what's going on in the inner city. I don't live in the city. I live out across the bridge in Jersey in the suburbs. But I see what's going on in Camden and Philly and Detroit and parts of New York, where it's like the Democrats control everything, but my people they're living worse than people do in Baghdad and in Damascus. Why? If the Democratic Party is for people who look like me, why are my people so poor and destitute? Why are they defunding these, like in Philly, about 20-some years ago when they built the Citizen Bank Park and the Link, where the Eagles play. I remember right before then they were talking about, they had to close down schools in Northeast Philly where most black people live because we don't have the funding. But do you have funding to build 2 stadiums for 2 billionaires?
No, the taxpayers paid for a lot of that, too.
That's what I'm saying. The taxpayers paid for that, but you couldn't pay for these schools for these kids to learn? Right. That's my problem with the Democratic Party. They just think that we're supposed to be loyal to them if they just pander to us and talk in these fake accents and just say, oh, look, that person's racist, so don't vote for them. Nah, it's not working anymore.
So your vote to me sounds less pro-Trump, more anti-Dems.
It's pro-Trump. I do like Don. I mean, there's other things I like about Trump. But, I mean, a part of it is anti-Democrat.
What's your name again?
Shaun.
Thanks, man.
Hey, appreciate it.
I appreciate it.